Before we jump right into this episode, I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors of the podcast, Switch Nutrition. Now, more specifically, I want to talk about foundational health. There are so many different supplements out there online and different gurus telling you this and that, but I love to strip it right back to the foundations and what are the things that we can be taking every single day to help with our foundational health. And these products right in front of me are the ones that I take every single day to make sure that I am well equipped to attack the day's activities and make myself feel good throughout the day. It starts in the morning with these two products here, the Hydrate, making sure I am hydrated, and the creatine, all put into a liter of water. Throughout the day, I then go and have this collagen protein within my Greek yogurt bowls that I make, and you guys would see all over my socials. And then to finish off the night, I have the Adrenal, more specifically the chocolate flavor, which is a sleep formula filled with ashwagandha, zinc, and magnesium. And I have a scoop of this 30 minutes before bed in hot water, kind of like a hot chocolate with a little dash of milk, and it tastes amazing and I sleep like a baby. If you want to try out any of these supplements, you can actually go to the link in the show notes or the description below, and it is my collections page on their website, which has all of the supplements that I take and love, and you can use code Chris Griffin and you'll get 20% off your order. Alternatively, you can go to www.switchnutrition.com.au and use the code Chris Griffin at checkout to get yourself 20% off all of these foundational health products that I absolutely love and take every single day. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. How you feeling?
Feel very, very like energized.
Yeah.
And up right now.
Yeah.
Like it's hard not to with all the supplements that you were feeding me at your place. And they're being at Soma like on the ground and the sun and man.
Mate, I'm feeling phenomenal. I've been off caffeine as well for a while now since I got back from Melbourne. And like the first few days, I didn't realize that I might have had a dependency to caffeine until you go off the caffeine.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I go, I can go days without it. If I'm feeling really anxious, I will go no caffeine throughout the day and I'll be fine. But as soon as you consciously recognize that, okay, I'm off the caffeine, something in you just goes, mate, I need to sleep. I can't be productive. I can't think straight. Like, it was hectic.
Yeah.
And so then I went seeking out all these answers on what are the supplements I can take. So I'm hitting up the founders of Mana and like, what's the maximum amount of dosage I can have of this stuff?
Give it to me.
But mate, welcome to the show, mate. I really appreciate you coming on, Eugene. Before the show, I got you to write down a quote for me, something that you love, something that came to mind straight away, and you wrote, hard decisions, easy life, easy decisions, hard life. I'm so intrigued by that quote and what that means to you, brother.
Man, I think life is the sum of our decisions at the end of the day. So whether you decide to take the easy route or the hard route, and sometimes we do take the easy route. It's not always hard all the time. But if your ratio is set at like that 80-20 rule around more hard decisions than easy decisions, like there's a reason why you're sitting on that couch with a really successful podcast and you're working with incredible brands, you're a business owner, you've got amazing people around you. It's because you made hard decisions with yourself, with your health, with your relationships, with where you want to be in life, with your location, with where you're living. You made the hard decisions, and that's why you're there.
100%. There's another quote. It's like, the life you want to live is on the other side of a couple of hard conversations.
Oh, dude.
And it's kind of one of those things where, like, the hard shit is hard for a reason. And a lot of the time, if it's hard, a lot less people are willing to do it. And by doing so, you're in the top percentile because you're actually willing to do it, which means you're going to get extraordinary results because you're not the ordinary that's going to just say no and do the easy stuff. Resisting short-term pleasures in favor of something greater.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's so simple too. Like being great isn't actually, it's not difficult to understand what you sort of need to do, or like that next step, but it's the being consistent. You talked about it a lot on your last podcast that I listened to briefly before I got here, and it's like consistency over a long period of time. You can almost get anywhere you want to go. You've literally just got to show up. Even if you're not great on that day, just show up.
It's getting the reps in. That's all it is. When you dumb it down, it's like the more you do something, the easier that thing is going to become. And then when you become good at that thing, through that you gain experience and maturity in that thing. And then the more you can do that with different areas in your life, the more you're going to keep leveling up those areas of your life. And then when you talk about skill stacking, it's like once you can be mature in a sense in this area and this area and this area, there's a lot less people that are mature in all those three areas. So if you combine them all together, you're a unique being.
I love that.
And I kind of look at like you, and we're going to unpack your story and just, I'm just blown away by, so if we take it back a tiny little step, we met literally last week at St. Haven. I think it was last week at St. Haven. I was in St. Haven. For everyone listening that doesn't know what St. Haven is, it is the most heavenly place. I'm in love with it. And I was blessed to spend a bit of time there last week. But Sean, before I even met you or Sean or I went to St. Haven, he said to me over text that you were one of the top 5 humans he has ever met in his life. Sean said that to me. And I was like, wow, I need to meet this guy. And, you know, for me, and I'm looking at you just now processing that, but I hear that and I go, he didn't say that lightly. He's not like just throwing that around. And so when we look at like a person and a character, and a character that has the things you have to do to become a character that someone can say that to, you need to go through some shit. You need to obsess over bettering yourself. You need to be very self-aware. There's so many other characteristics that you need, and all those characteristics are earned. And I'd love to know for you about like what do you attribute that to? When someone says that to you or says that to me and you hear that now, like what do you think about it? Like what are the characteristics you think about you that they're saying that about?
Man, it makes my heart race. Even because I hold Sean, for context, as my boss, and he is a big reason why St. Haven is what it is, and St. Haven is incredible. I'm sure we'll unpack that in a second. Makes me a little bit emotional too, because like I worked so hard on myself, not to impress anyone. It's almost to impress myself. And I feel like I have this mission on the planet of like making those hard decisions over and over again, to live in service of others, but also really in service of myself, and to like stack as many things as possible and see how wild I can make life in its own right. So, man, it makes me feel very grateful. It makes my heart beat a little faster. So it makes me feel, electric, energized. Yeah, God.
Where's the drive come from? Why do you want to stack all of these skills on top? Why do you want to constantly better yourself? Like, why do you want to serve others? Like, where's this coming from?
A higher power. Spirit, God, the ether, the universe, whatever people call it these days. We give it lots of names. But to be honest, it is like me working in unison with that higher version of me that is like pulling me up and wants me to be more, do more, see more for myself, but then also for other people. So it's like almost like a birthright. Yeah. That may sound abstract for people, but that's what it is for me.
But we're going to unpack that, and I think it's so cool. And, to do this, there's got to be, like, I would love to unpack your childhood and growing up. Played rugby?
Yeah.
Growing up, Sean mentioned.
Yes.
So you played rugby. Talk to me about your upbringing, playing sports, and let's get to know a bit more about the person who sits in front of me, Eugene, in terms of what you did before getting really, into the breathwork and healing sort of category that you're working within now.
Yeah, well, I played I say professional rugby because it sounds better than semi-professional.
Of course you do.
Just who
No
doesn't,
shit,
who doesn't bump stuff up, you know?
Just miss half of
Semi-pro people are like, oh, ugh. So I say I played pro rugby. I played in the Netherlands, so I represented Holland. I have a Dutch passport through my father, who's Dutch, and so that was, you know, later on in life. That was when I was 20, 21. But raised playing soccer. I played soccer, but I loved sport. I loved being outside. I loved nature. That's a big part of my life. And I was raised in a family with an older sister, younger brother, who my younger brother's my best mate. He's, I hate saying ride or die, but that's just come out now. He's my ride or die. Like, I would die for that guy 100 times over. And two beautiful parents. So, like, you know, I had childhood that almost had no trauma, no real difficulties. We're not super wealthy family, but, you know, anything I really, really wanted or needed, I always had that. But what we did with that as a family was we always had international students into our house. We had a Tongan brother who came over from Nuku'alofa to play rugby at high school. And I remember he was meant to be there for a semester or a term at school. And he ended up staying for 6 years at our house.
Wow.
And he became, and that's on my parents, but also like on the children as well. Like, we could have been like, hey, you know, can we have our house back kind of thing? But no, we're like, we love different cultures. We loved, you know, celebrating life, each other, Christmas, Easter, birthdays. It was like, we tried to make life just as like natural, as fun, and, you know, and live in gratitude as much as possible throughout my childhood. So yeah.
And that was in New Zealand?
Yeah. Born in New Zealand and moved over here just over 2 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And so you moved over to start with St. Haven, or you moved before St. Haven?
St. Haven didn't exist when I got to Australia. It was a twinkle in somebody's eye. And I was working at Anytime Fitness, managing a gym, and that was my first time actually working in the fitness space, and it was a great start, but I always knew, I was like, man, there's so much more we can be doing with our health. And I wrote down, it was like 3 years before St. Haven was a thing, I wrote down, I want to work in a space that prioritizes people's wellness. I want to work with an amazing team. I want to eat the best food, and I want to have my own health as a really, really high priority. And now it's here.
It's so beautiful. And man, like before the pod, we're optimizing in every way, shape or form. Like, let's go. So Eugene met me at my house. We jumped in the ice bath, felt fresh, rejuvenated, ready to go. We had some shilajit, some ormus, some ocean minerals in the mana supplements. And then we also, you had some Magic Mind, I'm off the caffeine.
Oh, dude.
And then we rolled into here and did an awesome breath work. We shut all the lights off and just got some nice fairy lights going on in the sky. And I just feel so charged up and ready to go, and it's so good. And I appreciate you so much for bringing that energy, which is so good. And let's talk about that, because you took us through a breathwork class here, little 10-minute breather. You mentioned it was you start slow and then you peak and then you wind back down again. What did you call that again?
Yeah, I love nature again. So I it's like a variation of some sort of mountain. So, you know, we start at the base, we understand where the peak is, how we're going to get there through the techniques, through the different holds, counts, and then we work up to the peak, and then we guide ourselves back down to the base so that we're feeling grounded, relaxed, and quietly energized. So that's how I kind of like to run a session, a breathwork session, a fire and ice session for that matter as well. So yeah, we ran through a heart coherence breath, which is great for increasing your HRV. It's simple. You just go in and out of your nose, into the solar plexus, I like to say, or into the heart, and you're just breathing in for 5, out for 5. Then we rolled into like an up-regulating pulse breath, which is like in 1, out 1. So it's like energizing, lots of like tidal volume, or basically lots of air going in, lots of air going out. And then we did a little bit of vagal toning to start to come back down off the peak. We did some breath holds in there too, just to feel the sensations. and then vagal toning, some humming, some sound on the back end, so that you felt grounded and that quiet, energized state.
And it worked, and it's amazing. And I did a bunch of your fire and ice stuff when I was at St. Haven too. But talk to me about breathwork. What got you into it, and where did it all start for you?
Wow. So, like many people, it was before COVID that I was curious, and I started this Instagram page, which was all like mindset, habits, nutrition in Holland. And I had like a bit of an awakening there playing rugby. But the first time I heard about breathwork was the crazy Dutch dude, Wim Hof. Fully in, fully out. Feel the sensations in the body. And
That was perfect.
I was like, this dude's a crackhead, but he's like, and he's pretty intense for a lot of people, but he knows who he is, which is like what I love about him. And the first time I saw it was on the Yes Theory YouTube channel, where they all went to Poland to his retreat space and did breath and immersed themselves in that environment. I was like, that's what I want to be doing. Like, they're alive. They're alive. So many of us are just like, don't look up from, say, our phone, or just from like being in what we're in and not zooming out enough, not looking at the horizon, not taking the time to actually connect with someone and notice their eye color or feel the beat of your heart. And it's all those small moments. Like, we could have not done that breath work before for 10 minutes, and then we wouldn't have been able to connect as a group. And, you know, there's so much living that we can do in between. And I feel like I felt that through breath work. It's like, whoa, there's so much more energy in me that I can actually tap into. And, you know, we're not just talking about the up energy. There's also that subtle energy, that relaxed, really like quiet inner energy that's like so beautiful, more feminine energy, and then that masculine.
So, like, how does breath do that though? Like, for example, when Dean was in here setting up the studio and we were discussing whether we're going to do the breath work or not, he was like, oh, it's been a full-on day. Like, it's been pretty chaos. And straight away, instantly, I go, okay, yes, we're doing the breath work.
Yep.
Because if he's feeling chaos, like, he needs to wind down. How does breathing do that? What does it do to the body?
So it depends what you do with your breath. So there's no perfect breath, but if I was going to give a breathwork technique to the whole world to practice at least 10 minutes a day, it would be really simple heart coherence breath, and do that for 10 minutes. You'd place, this is more of a technique than explanation of the science, but tongue gently on the roof of the mouth. You'd be breathing in and out of your nose so that you don't increase, what am I trying to say here? So that you don't decrease CO2 in the body too much and over breathe, and you keep oxygen at a really saturated level too. So you'd be breathing in and out for 5, CO2 increases, we decrease our sensitivity to CO2 as well. That's what a lot of like altitude training is. And we actually have oxygen into the tissue in a way more efficient way by breathing in and out of the nose in a really slow. So slow meaning 5-5, light, you can barely feel the breath going in and out of your nose, and then using your diaphragm. So, and we did this in our session. Like, I first saw that your breath was going up, and a lot of people breathe up because we think, you know, when we were at the doctor and the doctor's like, take a deep breath in, we go up. But if you look at where your lungs are, all the space is down. So you breathe down, you use your diaphragm to activate. It takes pressure away from the heart too. So over time, if you practice a breath like that, heart coherence breath, your resting heart rate will actually drop too. And I like to think of it like, you've got a certain number of beats until you die. I've got a certain number of beats until I die. If we can slow down how many beats we have in a minute with our breath, then we'll technically live longer with a better health span as well.
Crazy. Talk to me about the CO2 because we were doing this session in the gym.
Almost
which
killed
nearly
you.
killed me in the gym. But we were doing this session in the gym last week, and you got me like I was running on a treadmill with my mouth taped, in an incline. I was on the rower where I was doing a breath hold, and it was hectic. But you were talking about reenacting altitude training just from breath on the treadmill. How does that work, and what did we do?
Yeah, so the gold standard of this sort of training in the space is Oxygen Advantage with Patrick McEwen, and there's a great book called The Oxygen Advantage that people can read for reference. And the other people are XPT. There's people like Brian McKenzie. There's a lot of people out there doing this amazing stuff. But essentially, a lot of us overbreathe. We have lower levels of CO2 in the body because we're exhaling too much CO2 out of the system. So what we actually want to do with carbon dioxide, it is not a waste gas. There's this story that CO2 is bad. CO2 is incredible. Oxygen and oxidative stress, that sort of stuff, when we have too much oxygen in the system, that's bad. More CO2, the better, relative to normal breathing. So what we did was we looked to slowly, we did that warm up on the tread where we did the cadence breathing of a 3-3, 4-4, 5-5, and you're actually really, really good at that. And what we're doing is we're slowly increasing CO2, carbon dioxide in our system so that oxygen can go into the tissue more efficiently. So the less you breathe, especially on the exhale, your CO2 increases, and that respiration or Krebs cycle is more efficient for your body. So your body, again, is having to work less for the same amount of oxygen to tissue for life and energy to occur.
And so because the next thing we did after that was we were doing that walking hold with the weight.
Yep.
And you tested my CO2, was it? On my...
Your oxygen levels.
You checked my oxygen levels, and you mentioned that they were quite, like I was nearly passing out, like they were quite low.
We were like, you're a fit dude. You can handle that stress. And so I was redlining you. Like literally, I don't put 9 out of 10 of my clients I wouldn't have done that workout with. So I was like, I'm just going to send it with him.
Yeah.
So you did really well, just to make it clear.
At the end, I nearly died. Like we were on the rower, and we had to do, it was like 90 seconds. And then at a minute and a half, I had to exhale out and hold my breath.
Yeah. At 150 meters.
150 meters. Yeah. You had to hold my breath.
And keep rowing.
Until I nearly died, and then finish off to the 300. It was hectic, but let's keep on this breath topic.
Yep.
How important is breathing? Like correctly, not breathing so we don't pass out, but like how important is breathing correct? Let me try that one more time. How important is breathing correctly? Like you walked into my house and you're straight nasal breathing. Like how important is this?
Well, it's the basis of all life. So without, there's that quote that's like thrown around a lot. We can live without food for a month. We can live without water for a week. We can only live without our breath for a matter of minutes. So in scale of importance, you'd be like, well, the thing I need the most, I should probably learn how to do the best. Probably. But a lot of us, it's like we just think that our body is going to take care of it. But the breath is conscious and subconscious. It's not like our liver. It's like, right now I'm like, oh no, I've got to digest that bit of whatever. I'm not thinking about my liver. It just does it. It's a subconscious act that the body is taking care of. Our breath is powerful because right now I can feel my heart just drop maybe half a beat, and it creates immediate state change for us if we want it to. Now, if I go, heart rate goes up, energy goes up, boom, like that. And it's like, that's me consciously engaging my breath. And then, so were you thinking about your breath as you were watching me breathe like a psychopath?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you'd consciously engaged it. And now sometime in the rest of your day, it'll go unconscious or subconscious. And you want to have practiced it enough in a conscious way, in a correct way, so that when you're breathing subconsciously, it's serving you, it's not harming you. And I hate fear mongering or any of that shit. Like, I'm not into that. It's like an opportunity for you to streamline your body in a really, really proficient way, so that something that you're always doing, you're not always eating, you're not always working out, you're always breathing, apart from if you have sleep apnea or you're doing a crazy breath hold on the rower. It's something you're always doing. So it's like, why would you not learn how to do it properly?
Yeah, so my breath's horrible. I wake up every morning with a clogged nose. I tape my mouth, so it's like lacking oxygen entirely because I can't really breathe while I'm sleeping. Not good. And I don't really know what to do. Like, I should probably get my deviated septum fixed or something along those lines, but it's not very good. And I'm aware of how I started reading breath. Breath. Yeah. And like, I'm getting a little bit scared with the way I'm treating my breath right now. So I don't really know what to do. I'm a bit stuck on that front.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we want to go right back. You mentioned just before, when I asked you about how it got started, getting into breathwork, how it all got started. You mentioned you were playing rugby in Poland. And rugby in Holland.
Yeah.
You're playing rugby in Holland, and it something sparked in you that you had an experience there. What was that moment?
Well, not proud of it, but I did used to enjoy a party and a couple of things that go along with partying.
Why aren't you proud of it?
Because I know how good life can be without it. You don't need it.
And you feel like, but you feel like it's not something that helped shape you?
Yes. You know, the part of me that, you know, did party drugs and enjoyed it at the time until I didn't, it was amazing, and it allowed me to connect with other people, but I found it disconnected me from myself a lot of the time. Like, it was always like outward energy, and, you know, like, I would never change that season of my life at all. And it's kind of cool now. I can say that, you know, I've done that, but I've also now figured out that life is much better without it. The connection, especially to myself, is much better without it.
So when you were in that phase of drinking and party drugs and all the rest of it, like, was there a switch in you that just happened at one time, or like, how did you pivot when you were in Holland, and what experience was this?
I remember I felt like I never fully fit into rugby culture. You know, I made a couple of rep teams, and I had really great friends and connections to coaches and players, and I've got lifelong friends there, but I never felt like it was my thing. And so I sort of convinced myself over a period of a decade that, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. I love rugby. I love this stuff. But, you know, when you actually ask yourself, like, is that the truth, Eugene? It's like, it wasn't the truth. And trying to come to terms with, you know, something I'd spent so long doing, and we speak about those skills. Sometimes the skills you don't actually enjoy, you just do them because you're good at it. I was decent at rugby. I got to travel around the world for it. But I remember vividly, we were at the bar, the boys, after the game, and I just wasn't feeling it, but I wanted to. I wanted to be there, and it's a people pleaser tendency in me to, like, not want other people to feel negative about life from me. I have a fear of that, almost, of like making somebody else's life worse because of myself. So I was like, gotta get up. So I went, you know, get the phone out, put the cocaine on the phone, get some lines ready, and then I just start like breaking down in tears and being like, dude, what are you doing? What are you actually doing? And I think of my parents and how, like, I don't know, how confused they'd potentially be with me doing that stuff. And how confused I was sort of at that point in time. Yeah, it's weird to go back there because I haven't thought about it in a while. And I just remember crying. I wiped them off. I was like, I'm done. And I just remember like this voice coming to me of like, you're better than that. Now, I don't have a problem with people doing any of that stuff, but it's like, for me in my journey, it was like, it's time that you start listening to spirit or higher self and start to live in service of yourself and other people. Now, God, that journey from now to then to now has not been linear in any way, shape or form, but I feel alive now, and I'm not trying to do it for other people. I'm doing it for myself and trying to pour from a full cup.
Do you feel like you were just trying to fit in? Is that the thing? You're the main thing with playing rugby? You were in denial that you didn't enjoy it and it wasn't you because you've spent so much time doing it. So you kind of just wanted to fit in with all the boys?
100%. And why would you not, like that survival mechanism of being that animal that's cast aside at the drinking hole. It's like, nah, fuck that guy. Like, don't let him drink any of the water. You don't want to be that animal. You want to be the, hey, Eugene, yes, up, brother, what's up? Big hugs, handshakes. How are you, man? You want to be that guy until you realize that, it's not all it's cracked up to be, trying to be that guy to everyone. And that was me, trying to be the guy that everyone loved at the cost of not being that guy for myself.
You mentioned one of your biggest fears was making someone else's energy worse by you being in the room. I guess when we reflect on where you were in that rugby scene or in that party scene and then where you are now, it makes so much sense that that's one of your fears and that's what you're doing. Because when you're not into drinking and you're at a party, you're in a sense like making the people that are drinking feel bad potentially. Whereas now, when you're in the environment you're in now with Saint Haven, everyone's coming from hard rat race, trenches day of work and business, and they're coming for you to be able to lift them up. And now you are in that position where that's what you do, and I've experienced it, where you get them to rank and they say 3 out of 10 and afterwards they say 7. Like, is that a big driver for you? Because when you're sitting in that place in Holland and you're like, I don't want to be bringing other people down, and that's led you to where you are today, do you think that's a big reason?
I think it takes moments like this, like we're having right now, to really feel and understand and someone reframe that back to you, at least for me. I like to reflect, but I completely agree. Yeah. Like I don't need to see them feel better, but I get a kick out of seeing them and their energy shift. I'm not attached. If someone comes in with a 3 and leaves with a 3, I'm like, fuck, they must be really in their shit. And, perhaps we need to do some, one-on-one work. Or I need to go and check in with them on a text or a call. A lot of people, show emotion in my breathwork and fire and ice classes. And I try and make that the space so that they can, because maybe they go home to their lovers or their children or whomever, and they have to be the rock and they can't show emotion. So I'm like, this is your space to go in, like feel that stuff and potentially let it go and become a 7 or become a 10. So I like to give people the opportunity to shift their state and their way of being. But again, like I've had to let go of needing to be the guy that does it every single time too, because at the end of the day, I can't change how you think and feel. I can try and give you the space to do it with my skills, but I can't actually flick a switch in you.
So it's basically just focusing on the things you can control and recognizing that the things you can't control are going to happen regardless without you, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And so I guess, yeah, you can influence, but you can't change. And I guess that comes down to people's emotions. Talk to me about that feeling when you were playing the rugby and you felt like you didn't fit in, but you wanted to fit in. How long did that period last for? It wouldn't have been a whole decade. You would have still thought and been convinced that it was this thing that you loved, but then maybe later on you had some realizations. From the time you had the realization to when you smashed the lines of cocaine off the phone, like how long was that, would you say?
I remember I got a lot of injuries, and that was another factor.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Ripped the tendon off the bone in my finger, so you can kind of see that's a little bit bunged up. Dislocated shoulder, broken jaw, the plate there, concussions, all those sort of things. And so it was like, no, this is just, it's knocking me off being back in the team. And so it was always like, get the injury right as soon as possible so I can be back with the boys, back in the team, back adding value. And that period of time, it was sort of, I was getting quite exhausted with having to like rehab and then try and come back and then get injured again. I was just a bit over that. And I was like, what's it all for? Like, I'm not making life-changing money from this. I'm getting to travel the world, great, but it was probably like 2 years. I remember I almost cracked it in New Zealand, which is the hardest country in the world to crack it in rugby. And I was selected in a team, and I can't remember what injury I got. I think it was my finger. And so I'd ripped the tendon off the bone of my finger, and I was being selected in this team in my, home province. And then it got ripped away with the finger, literally. And I was either going to go to America and play rugby in America at ASU, Arizona State University, and party, or I was going to stay in New Zealand and try and give rugby a crack. And then this injury happened, and so I was like, I'm just going to go send it and party in America.
So you went to America, and how long were you in America for?
6 months.
Straight send for 6 months.
Send. ASU is the party university of American colleges. So, yeah.
So what was that experience like? Like frat parties, or like what was the vibe?
Yeah, they actually had their president, they had frat row, and their president literally, because ASU was known as like the party capital, he got bulldozers and literally knocked down frat row. So it shifted the dynamic of the university, but it still had that culture to it. Like you can knock something down, but there's still culture about a place. So it was so much fun, so many amazing people that I met over there. I got to study as well, play rugby, travel, LA, Vegas, Grand Canyon, got to travel for rugby as well and meet amazing people. But it was that pivotal point where at that point I was just playing rugby because I was good at it, and that dream for me was like, injuries are just exhausting, and maybe there's something else instead of this. And it like, go for people out there, it's like, it's okay to actually ask yourself the question, is this actually what I want to be doing? And be honest. Like, actually be honest. The only person you're hurting
is you.
At the end of the day.
That's all it is. I think you got to remind yourself that no matter what situation you're in your life, no matter what happens, you're always going to have yourself by your side. yet we respect ourselves less than we respect all the people that don't even matter. And so it's like understanding that when your head hits the pillow, you're always going to have yourself there.
Yeah.
So trying to lose that person's respect, like it makes you start making decisions for you more than everyone else. And then when you start to make decisions for you and do things that you actually want, that's when you actually start to achieve the things that you want in your life.
100%. And the right people will start to come into your life too, because you're starting to value yourself. People that are like super high achievers, they value themselves so highly that either, you know, whether you're woo-woo or not, that there's a vibrational energy attached to, like, there's a reason why we met is because, you know, you're doing amazing things. I'm doing amazing things. You're not going to go and ask the guy smoking a ciggy on the park bench who's like low energy. You're like, brother, want to hang out? I wouldn't do that. I would see the guy running, shirt off, working real hard, nasal breathing, nose strip. I'd be like, fuck, I want to hang out with that dude. He's the man. That's what I see now. I'm like, man, I want to hang out with amazing people with loads of energy doing amazing things. So I can elevate more.
Well, it's just you attract what you are. It's like you mirror you basically.
Exactly.
And it's so funny because people always ask me like, how do you meet the best friends and how do you meet all these people? I was like, you level up you. Like I put in my story the other day, like you spend all your time chasing butterflies, they're just going to fly away. If you spend all your time building a beautiful garden, then the butterflies will come to you.
Oh, I love that.
And that's so powerful and it's so true. If like 90% of your questions that you ask me, no word of lie, do a Q&A, 90% of the answers are level up you. Because when you work on yourself and you level up all the areas of your life, all the other problems that you say you have will disappear. I guarantee you. So just focus on leveling up you. And that's all it is. And I know that can be like someone's listening to this on their run right now and they're like, fuck, that makes so much sense.
Run faster.
Pick up the pace, boy. All right, so you go.
I just want to say, hard decisions, easy life. Easy decisions, hard life. Comes back again to that.
Yes. When you do the things that no one else is willing to do, you will get the life that everyone wants but's not willing to work for. Like that's just the reality of it. Let's talk about what happened next when you went from, nah, I'm done. You broke down in the pub or at home or wherever you were with the cocaine and you said, I can't do this. How did that night pan out? What happened that night?
I biked home. If you live in Holland, you know that you bike everywhere. I biked home. I was like, I'm done. Around that time, this is when I started. I started with the Health Mojo. That was my Instagram that you were on before looking through things. And you see there's a little tile that says the Health Mojo on it. And I was like, you know, what do I enjoy? Who do I like look up to? And what can I start doing? You know, I knew what being a healthy male looked like in that moment. And I was like, that's not me right now. Started to like get more consistent with the gym. And I started to like ask myself the questions of, you know, what do I actually want to be doing in this world? What do I want to be giving to myself and to others? So, man, I went home. I was like, I need to sort my shit out. I need to do something different.
And how long was that? How long ago was that?
So the end of my time in Holland was right at the start of COVID, where it went from Wuhan to Italy, and then they had that breakout in Italy. I was going at the end of my season to Italy to travel, and I wasn't able to make it there because the outbreak started. So it would have been 2019, 2020. Yeah.
And then you moved back to New Zealand.
Moved back to New Zealand.
And that's when you stopped playing rugby as well?
I did one more season because I was convinced. Oh, dude. Yeah.
More injuries in that last season too?
Yes, there were. Yeah. It was just that time where
I've been injured, dude. Like it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, when is it going to end? And it just doesn't. So no. I was like, I need to move on. And that's when I started like doing breathwork journeys, and I did my first breathwork training. and it all started to move and shift from there. I was actually doing a 3-day fast one night, and as I finished the fast, I just had this, it's like that voice again of like, move to Australia, go over there. And so I messaged my brother. This was, 2.5 years ago. Messaged my brother. I was like, keen to move to Australia? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So within like 2 months, we were in Aussie. I was doing my breathwork training. I'd said yes to myself. That's what I'd done. I'd, got out of New Zealand, which was, felt quite enclosed over there. Over here, it's a lot more open and there's a lot more opportunity. And, then that journey started.
When you say like enclosed, and for people in the video, you're like this, and then opened up in Australia, like, what do you mean by that? Because like I get it's a feeling, but what do you actually mean by that?
Big one's money. There's like this narrative around Australia has more money for jobs, which is true. More people, and there's a bigger connection between America and Australia, especially in the health space. America's so polarized with health right now, but the peak performers over there, it's like naturally, like a lot of the people that you sort of see on YouTube or in the podcasting space, they come from America or they're in America doing their thing. And so it's that natural jump from 5 million people in New Zealand. Tall poppy syndrome is way worse in New Zealand and Australia. And so it's naturally go over, people don't know you, you can spread your wings and like be yourself more rather than be cut down if you're trying something new.
Makes sense. There's so many Kiwis over here.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Sorry, bro.
Makes sense now. It's just closed off in these little caves in New Zealand and like, I just need to open up. I feel like it's a cool place to visit though. I'm really keen to just go and explore and hire a van. Haven't done that yet. And just go and explore the mountains. And
it's insane back home. Like New Zealand it feels similar to Byron Bay, of that like essence of feeling very grounded. It's beautiful. It's natural. There's so much there, and maybe I move back there one day. I'm not sure. I'm just in the flow of life right now, but New Zealand does have a special essence. Aotearoa.
What's that?
Land of the long white cloud. That's what Aotearoa means. New Zealand and Māori, te reo Māori. Yeah.
You keep referring back to this higher voice and this God that steers you in the path. Do you remember the first time you felt something? I've interviewed some people and like I was asking them about their spiritual journey and where it all started. And a lot of the time it starts from pain and from hard times and going through shit. And one time they're just doing something, they're on the brink, they're just really struggling, and then they hear something. And there's this moment. Is there a moment for you at all? Or has it always been there? Or
I feel like the way I was raised Catholic in a Catholic household with a lot of love. And so I always had this relationship with the guy in the sky with the beard, who was all-knowing, all-loving. Son came to earth, sacrificed his son out of love for the world. Like that narrative of Catholicism and Christianity. But that sort of dissipated a little bit as I've had more and more awareness through like holotropic breathwork journeys and those rebirthing breathwork journeys, where I've gone into like this awareness of we're all connected, and I have this feeling of, we can create heaven on earth through listening to that voice. I can't think of a time where I first had that voice in my head. I feel like it's always been there and I didn't listen to it until I did. And maybe that's just my gift that I get. And then you have plenty as well. I don't know what yours are. Some I can see in real form, what you've created, but I feel like mine is the ability to connect with other people really, really well, instantly, all forms of life, and listen to that inner voice and let it guide me.
Are you still Catholic?
If you were to like put what I do and what I believe in next to Catholicism's dogma and list of things to sort of tick off, I'd say no. But I live in a Christian way, which I believe underneath Catholicism, without the dogma, is love. And I try and live in love. Yeah.
Mm. And love is in with everything that you're doing, just having an emphasis on love, or what specifically does that mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out, to be honest. But biggest one comes down to like valuing self and having self-worth. Now that's been a journey for me too. Helping other people. It's basically like improve the world more than you take away from it. Like make sure that balance is stacked as high as possible towards serving the world more so than like removing from it. So, you know, I'm not a guru. I'm not some wizard who has all these superpowers. Like I am just a 28-year-old dude trying to figure it out and help people with their breath and have cool conversations and enjoy my life and have as much money as possible and, you know, live in the 3D, but also do all the crazy woo-woo stuff too. Like I just like living.
100%. That's so cool. You mentioned self-worth there. Have you struggled with that in the past?
Definitely. I text Tim Gurner, founder of Saint Haven. Him and I have a really close relationship, and I was talking to him about self-worth, and like I still feel like sometimes mine isn't where it needs to be. There's this shadow of, it's like I should have so much based on what I do, but my small self with like a lowercase s, rears his ugly head sometimes, and I don't give myself the space and priority over other tasks and decisions in my life enough of the time, and so my self-worth essentially plummets, but I'm working on that.
Why don't you think you give yourself that?
It's funny because, well, it's not funny. That's just a saying. It's not funny at all. No, that's funny. People say that it's really funny and they just got like resting bitch face and it's not funny at all.
It's not funny.
It is ironic because I want other people to have so much self-worth and value themselves and prioritize themselves and make space for those things that make them feel good. But I will and have in the past more so given to others much more than myself and poured from that empty cup and then let it drain to the bottom a little too far rather than do, you know, my practices. And it's like a gift to be able to eat really well, exercise, meditate, not do stuff, actually say no. That's one of the biggest forms of self-love. So is discipline. Discipline in life is the highest form of self-love. And my discipline and consistency in the past has been quite weak because it's been like, you know, I've got to see other people happy. I've got to see my team happy. And if the team's happy, I'm happy. But that slowly changed over time.
Discipline is the greatest form of self-love. Comes back to that thing I said earlier. Discipline is resisting short-term pleasures in favor of something greater. I think it's so powerful. It's funny though. Discipline's a bit of a buzz term. It's like thrown around a bit. I think it's misused a lot.
Yep.
People just throw it around all the time. Discipline. Like, what is that? It's like a cool thing to say. And like, it's funny. Like, I feel like making terms seem funky and special and cool takes away what they actually mean. So I like to kind of like take that out and just say patience, because that's no one wants to be patient. No one wants to wait. But a lot of the time that's all you need to do. And that's what being disciplined. Discipline's about showing up and doing the things holding the commitments to yourself. But a lot of the time it's like being patient and resisting those things that are taking you steps further back as opposed to steps forward.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things. I reckon it's funny. I sometimes say things on a podcast that are just thoughts that I have in my mind. I'd imagine you do a lot of thinking and you think a lot, because I think so much. Sometimes I'll say something and someone goes, where did that come from?
Bro, it happens to me all the time.
They're like, where did that come from, dude? And I'm like, mate, I spend too much time alone. And I was chatting with, actually my ex-girlfriend. I was chatting to her just earlier today.
Yeah.
And we were just chatting about, like, she's over in LA right now, modeling, and she basically spending so much, she's working like every single day, and like each Uber ride's like an hour and a half each morning and night. And so she's spending like 3 hours in an Uber every day. And she's like, obviously doesn't have enough time. She's wrecked. She doesn't have enough time to socialize. So she's being alone, spending a lot of time alone. And what happens when you spend time alone is your mind just goes crazy, for good or for bad. And when people ask where these thoughts come from all the time, I say it's just from spending a lot of time alone, because you think, too often we have thoughts, negative or positive, but we get scared about those thoughts. So then we pick out our phone or we put music on, and we never actually sit in them. And the power is through sitting with them. I was explaining to her, I was just saying, like, honestly, I think being alone is so powerful, because we formulate opinions and thoughts that are unique. They're not just regurgitated stuff from someone that's online. I think it's powerful, and it creates a powerful and interesting and a useful person to be around. Do you think it's important being alone and spending time in your own thoughts?
100%. And also feelings. So thoughts are from the mind, feelings are from the body, and then if you want to go, you can go messages from the higher self or outside of that too. And that's so important, because they give you this like guide, basically how to live better and more in a more enjoyable life. And most often you'll get a thought that keeps coming back through because it wants you to sit with it, but you're refusing to because you keep distracting yourself, moving from side to side, phone, call someone, go work out. Exercise is a real big distraction for people, and people are like addicted to exercise rather than serving them through movement. And that's like a big one that people don't want to listen to, because they're like, no, exercise is good. But a lot of people like overtrain and all that sort of thing, rather than like, sometimes you actually need to sit at home and just be there, even if it's for like 2 minutes. You don't have to turn into a yogi or a meditating expert. You just like don't have your phone with you for 2 minutes. Look at it when you wake up, because you need that dopamine. You need that thing to like kick you off, or that energy to start the day. And I know how like intense phone use is for people these days, but like, and you'd know it too, because that's almost like your life. Like, you've got to be on it. But I'm sure you have
job, not life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Job, but 100%. You don't want to look at my screen time. You'll panic. I recognize that. And I recognize it's also just a chapter, not the whole book.
Yeah. But you've sat with yourself too. You've zoomed out, whereas people don't do the zoom out. They don't.
Do you think
sit.
Because sitting with yourself is hard, that's why people don't do it?
Fuck yes. And sometimes it feels like you take 10 steps backwards, because you're thinking about something that happened a year, 2, 3, 10, 20 years ago that you haven't dealt with. And it's still, my understanding is that it's still in your body. And your body, look at the size of your body compared to your head. Now, your mind is not your brain, it's something else. But look at all of that memory.
What's your mind?
Space. God, your mind, I don't even know what your mind is. It is a part of you that is subconsciously always sprouting thoughts essentially to give you guidance in life, but you are not actually your mind. They can't find your mind in the brain. It's not there. You are not your mind. Yeah. Wild. So all these thoughts and all that negative self-talk and all of that stuff, that's stemming from childhood trauma or an experience in your past, good or bad, that is giving you messages. And like, the invitation is to sit with yourself through that and ask yourself why you're feeling that, and then go and start to work with, say, a professional, or go and do more of something or less of something based on that. But that is, I reckon, one of the hardest things, especially in Western culture, that we can do, because we're so driven to just keep doing more and more and more, and this is so backwards of doing less.
Mm. Is it just taking one step back so you can take 10 more forward?
Essentially. Like, if
because sometimes you need to slow down or else you'll just burn out.
100%. Yeah, like I've burnt out at working at St. Haven too, because I was just going too hard with the doing and not enough of the being myself, because, you know, all the people around me, all the people that I'm working with, seeing, not all of them, but a lot of people are in that do, achieve, to be. But, you know, we're not human doings, we're human beings. So, you know, we should be a little bit more, I feel.
I really don't want this conversation to end, but the final part of this podcast is going to be a speed round of quotes that you've put on your Instagram. And I'm going to read some of the quotes. Some have been from years ago and some have been more recent. There's 3 of them on here, and we're just going to go through them and have a chat and see where this leads. What are your thoughts?
Done. Let's do it.
Let's do it. The first one is, in order for our outer world to change, first we must change.
Comes back to the decisions we make and the decisions we choose to make from the conscious mind, not the subconscious mind, not from those habits that we don't even know why are habits. When we start to change that inner world, that inner voice, whether it be through health, exercise, meditation, whatever, your outer world will vibrationally, if you increase your vibration, start to shift and adjust to your new level of vibrancy.
There's a lot to unpack with that one.
Episode 2.
So many vibrations going on there.
Yeah. It's quite abstract, and it's like, if you ask, you know, Eugene, scientifically unpack what it is to have a high vibration, I'd be like, nah, don't know really the science, but I know.
But there's science and then there's new science.
Yes, true. And there's reality. When I started to increase my self-worth, increase self-love, do more that prioritized what my understanding of high vibrational living is, my life got better. My relationships got better. I attracted better people into my life, more money, everything that I wanted. So why would you not want to do that?
100%. You start, again, like building that beautiful garden. Like it's been an emphasis on the whole episode. It's like focusing on you, increasing your self-worth, you know. So the self-worth is how you view yourself.
Yeah.
That's important to note.
But tell truth with it too. It's not like, I'm worth $7 billion. Where did that number come from? It's like, your worth, it's hard to put a nominal value on it, but, you know, you get as, you know, I could probably say a number, I'm not going to say it, that I know I'm sort of worth roughly in terms of financials.
Do you think a better term is self-esteem?
When I say self-worth, it's not money.
Mm-mm.
It's something else. Money is just, because we live in a capitalistic society, money is the inference in a nominal value of that worth to society. So that's why I bring money into it.
100%. Yeah. But like, I think the way I look at self-worth and self-esteem is like, when you look in the mirror, you're proud of who you see.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that one. Yeah. But we all need to get paid and eat and all that stuff too.
100%.
That's why I bring that in.
100%.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, the money that you make, there's a lot of shit you have to go through to make that. And through that shit is the character building and the high value person that you become. Yeah. A lot of us cannot have self-worth and still have a lot of money. That's a massive factor too. And I think where that comes from is stacking proofs that you are who you say you are. Because if you can stack proofs that you are who you say you are, then you have that confidence in yourself. I was speaking with Tom Bolch in Melbourne, and he said something which is so cool, is there's a difference between self-confidence and self-esteem. Self-confidence is what other people think of you, how they view you, and self-esteem is how you view you. And so it's like if confidence is kind of what people view you as, I think. You can look confident.
Yeah.
But I think But I think self-esteem is how you look at yourself.
The mirror.
Yes.
The truth.
The truth.
Yeah.
And too often people can be, and this is a problem with social media, is people can be fake online, making them look extremely confident, but their self-esteem plummeted. 100%. Horrible. Can't look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
Don't want to look at it. Don't want to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
But keep faking and it compounds and compounds. You're closing all these little bottles in your head and they're just about to burst. It's just a matter of when. And I think, that's powerful. The next one, see it in your mind, feel it in your heart, walk with trust, and it will be so.
That's sort of a take on, Mystic Mac, Conor McGregor, when he was in his full manifestation, like weapon mode, where he was like double champ. He like predicted stuff that would happen.
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
What is that? Confidence, sure, really high self-esteem. But when you're saying stuff and it actually happens, it's like, wow. We call it manifestation, and that's that word based like, on discipline, like you just said. But I'm big on not being like, I just manifested it. It's like, see it in your mind, like actually visualize something that you want. Feel it in your body, feel it in your heart. Heart's the easiest place to go because it's beating, it's alive, it's there. And then start making decisions based on what you've seen in your head, what you feel is going to make your life better and more enjoyable, and then make the decisions in the direction that you want to go. See it in your mind, feel it in your heart. I kind of make it sound like a bit woo-woo, but like at the end of the day, it's like envision something, feel how you want to feel in that moment ahead, and then make the decisions to get there.
I love that. I love that so much. See it in your mind.
But that has a place too,
Feel it in your heart.
Feel it in your heart.
Walk with trust. And it will be so.
Maybe.
Just maybe.
Just maybe.
One day it'll come to life. And the final quote we wanna touch on here is, which this is a rabbit hole in itself because I could speak for 30 minutes on this one topic.
Yeah.
30 hours on
I got
this
to
one.
get to the airport too.
30 hours on this one topic. If you have your health, you are in a unique position. Let me try that one more time. If you have your health, you are in a unique position. Don't take this for granted. Earn the right every day.
Look at the Western world. Obesity is at its highest ever. Heart disease, cancer, all of these things. There's something wrong with the way we're living, fundamentally. And I'm not going to go into the science and the stats, any of that stuff. I just know that for a fact we're doing stuff wrong. So the fact that I feel blessed, that I wasn't genetically born with all of these complications. So I feel very grateful that I have great health. But I also do not take that for granted. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you to my parents. Thank you. And I believe in epigenetics too, that we can actually shift genes. But I'm grateful. So it's like, earn the right and give people an inspiration that they can be like me. Like, my health isn't perfect. Like, I got sore neck and, I get injuries from time to time, But, like, earn the right every day. If your health is solid, don't take it for granted. Try and feel better each day. It's so amazing to feel great and have energy and be able to, wake up and push for your goals and try and, create that amazing life and fill the world with more love.
I 100% agree. If you are an able human being, you are being disrespectful to society if you are not looking after your health.
100%.
Because there are people that could not have clean water today. There were people that didn't even have a roof over their head. There were people that got beat up by their family. There are people that can't even walk. and they would love to live
Love it.
even 10 minutes in your life.
100%. And you're there on an adult dummy, sucking a vape, eating shit, and not sitting with yourself for 2 minutes a day and then complaining about why your life isn't where it is. And I get I get frustrated with that too, because those people there, their lives could be incredible, and then the world would be so much better. And that's like, I get to think that way, and I'm very grateful to think that way, because I can see from the other side of the fence how amazing it can be, just if you make a few tweaks and you decide to step away from that conversation or do the small things, like have the courage to be the fucking person that you can be. Most people know I can be better. I can be better. And they're those people that really do have a tough life and are injured, chronically fatigued, all health complications. I empathize for those people, and I want to live the best life I can be for myself and for the people that don't get that pleasure so easily. Yeah.
And we'll leave it on this, is this concept of HTR that me and my best friend Sam created when we were in lockdown in 2020, and it's health, time, and relationships. But time is business, because business unlocks time. But HTR, if we go from the back and we go relationships, I think relationships are the key to our emotional well-being and happiness, because you can be the healthiest motherfucker, you can have all the time in the world, but if you have no one to spend it with, then what's the fucking point? Yeah. So I think it's so important. Yeah. However, if you can have all the relationships, but you don't have any time to spend on those relationships, then again, the relationships are pointless, because you're not going to be able to make meaningful, loving, long-lasting relationships without spending any time on them. They need work. Yeah. But if you take it that next level further, health. You can have all the relationships in the world, all the money, all the time in the world, but if you're in a hospital bed, there's no fucking point. So it all comes down to looking after your health. If we can hold the commitments to ourselves by producing the highest standards of health in all facets of our life, putting systems and processes in place to take control over our time through business, so then we can invest into meaningful, purposeful relationships as our key contributing factor to emotional well-being and happiness. That's life, and that's living.
Just keep living, man.
You just got to keep living, man.
HTR, boy.
LIVIN. Walking on a dream.
Surely, no, you'll get trademarked or whatever if you put that at the end of the episode. That'd be cool, though.
That'd be so cool. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate you. I want to commend you. Your story's insane, for opening up, being vulnerable today, man. I really appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of the listeners are going to absolutely love you off the back of this. So thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we signed out?
After this episode finishes, let it finish and then sit there in silence for 5 minutes. And then just don't judge yourself for thoughts or feelings. Just sit there for 5 minutes. If you want to write 1 or 2 down, do it, but just sit there for 5 minutes and see what happens. That's my invitation to everyone. Wow.
That'd be powerful. We've got to go to an airport, so we're not going to be able to do that right now.
No.
However, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Eugene. Mate, you're the best, dude. I'm so pumped with this. I'm sure they're going to absolutely love it. If you've made it to the end and you enjoyed this conversation, there is new ones coming out every single week, at least once a week. So be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to this, on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, whatever it might be, and leave us a 5-star review, because the more reviews we can get, the more amazing guests just like Eugene we can get on this show. Woo! And we can keep on growing together. Thank you so much, Eugene. We are signing out, and I'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Let's go. Oh, boy. Ooh. Fuck yeah, bro. Good or what? I love this shit.
I've never shared that publicly, but